Tell me when you're ready.
Yeah, okay.
Hold on, man.
Yeah. Here's the word.
Hold on. Okay, we're running.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, I'm David Bowie, and a little later on you can see an interview with me on Countdown, Europe's #1 rock show. When I was a younger guy and I had the option to be either a musician or a painter, when I was thinking about being a painter, it never occurred to me that I was going to want to be a painter to make a big killing, you know, and make a lot of money, because that wasn't what was happening then. I mean, the whole idea about painting being a career opportunity just wasn't there, and that seems to have happened over the last 10, 15 years. And it's happened to rock far more as well, whereas once upon a time you really moved into rock because the whole idea of it was exciting. There were girls, there was, you know, a lot of fun times, and you could make some statements about something or other. Mm-hmm. And you think of something or other to make a statement about. But now guys approach it very seriously as a career opportunity. You know, it's as serious as banking these days or something for a lot of kids, you know. It's a whole different ballgame.
You think it will change the sound of music over the years?
Oh, it has done. Yeah, it's changed. It's changed what's available anyway. I mean, it's very hard to pick up good music. I'm not so sure about Holland. I've not spent enough time there. I'm not familiar with what used to be called underground stations, or the FM format, the old American FM format you have, or college stations. But generally in America, it's almost impossible to pick up good music on radio. Absolutely impossible. I mean, you really are restricted to college radio, which is a tiny share of the market, you know. I think it's a great struggle for any artists that really have a strong integrity with what they're doing. I think this is probably, even though we have more media, more access to media, more communications now, it's probably harder now to get good music played than it ever was in the 60s. God, the 60s were brimming over with good music on radio. You know, it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Very difficult now.
I think everybody's playing safe right now at this moment. Radio stations are really playing safe.
Absolutely, because it's big bucks out there now, you know, for making that right sound, you know.
So when are you going to start your own independent record label? And
it did come up. It did come up. But you see, again, I'd love to, but it wouldn't. If I did that, I'd have to be for something like that. We did investigate the idea of doing it because there were several acts that I wanted to really get involved in something like that. Mainly Sonic Youth, Pixies, Glenn Branca. Those were the top three I wanted to get involved with. But you know, you'd have to be looking after something like that 24 hours a day, otherwise somebody else will run with the ball and change the whole animal and it'll become something else, you know. And it's so time consuming. I wouldn't act as an artist anymore. I would have to become some kind of record executive. And it's no good me just fronting a record label and then leaving it up to other people to run, because then it wouldn't be what I'd sort of figured. I wouldn't be able to keep its integrity. It would just become another competition to A&M, or, you know, eventually, because all things do. Look at Rough Trade. You know, it was like the pinnacle, the flagship of the independent thing, and it's bye-bye.
Now, you yourself, you see the music as a real competitive business?
Oh, it is.
Do you have competitors?
I would say that I stay out of it. I'd like to say that. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. You could tell me from the outside, but I don't really feel that. I feel that, frankly, over the last 20 years or so, I'm pretty much my own man. I suppose it's very cheeky of me to put myself in the same light, but if I look at Bob Dylan, he doesn't have competition. He's just Bob Dylan. Whether you like him or don't like him, whether he does good stuff or bad stuff, he's still Bob Dylan, and you don't compare him with anybody. It's not a competitive kind of thing. It's the same with the Stones. I know they create mock competitions for them with other bands. I've noticed in America it's been happening. But there's really no way that you can compare the Stones with anybody. And I would hope that I think I probably am in the same kind of position. I'm David Bowie, and I'm either good, I'm a pile of shit, or, you know, I'm accessible and not accessible, I'm obscure, very commercial. I change all the time, but I'm still me, you know. No. I think that was my answer is no. I don't feel that I'm in a competition. I do feel it's very competitive for new artists, and they really have to make up their minds if they're going to sort of present themselves as something to take off the shelf, or whether they want to be in it. Whether you want to make music because you want to make the music, or whether you want to use the music to obtain fame. If you want to use it to become famous, then you just be shallow and it'll be superfluous, you know. But if you're doing it because you want to do the music and fame comes out of it, that's a whole different thing.
Well, I mean, in a way, most artists want to do music, plus they really enjoy
Good
the
50-50.
fame. Yeah.
It's a good 50-50, but you get bands like, I mean, I don't know, but there's creations now, like the old late 50s, early 60s bands, like New Kids on the Block, say, the American band, where the music is there to create a vehicle for them. I mean, it's not, surely they can't be in love with that music that they play. You know, I mean, you can't comprehend that, oh, this is our life. Get out of here. You know, they're cute boys in tight jeans. I mean, it's about selling to that particular market, you know. It's just like early Osmond stuff, you know. Osmond's music wasn't their life. It enabled them to get a TV show, you know, and all that. It's like, that's all that whole early 60s syndrome has come back again, you know.
So how do you feel it being in the charts together with acts like that? As long as you're above them.
I don't, oh God. As I say, with them, I'm not with them at all. I don't see it that way. I just don't see it that way, you know.
Now, I'm going to give you a couple of song titles.
Yeah.
Could you give a short reaction on these song titles?
I'll try.
Good. Genie.
Detroit, very much my first impressions of seeing Iggy Pop in his home environment, which is a trailer van and a trailer park. And the way he used to dodge around during the night. And it was very much Iggy's song, that.
Heroes.
Heroes, again, well, I can't escape the fact that very much was Berlin for me at that period. I mean, the changes there, so substantial, so awe-inspiring. Still very hard to take in that's happened over there. It's in such a far. When I was living there was no doubt in anybody's minds that wall was going to be there for at least the next 50 years. There's no way that wall was going to change, you know? It was a joke, that would be down in 40. If I said that would be down in 14 years, forget it, it's got to be another 50 years, you know. It's incredible, absolutely extraordinary. There was one party there in 1970, it would have been, what year would that have been, 78? When was the anniversary of the wall? 68, 78? It must have been around 78, something like that. And there was a punk club, and they built in the punk club a replica of the wall, and it went right the way around the club. And at the stroke of midnight, all these mohawked punks dived into the cake and ate the wall. Isn't that great? Unbelievable thing. Little did they know, yeah, right, that they'd be eating it today.
Speaking of walls, China Girl.
China Girl, again, it was really Jim's song. I mean, the lyric for me, it was wonderful to cover one of Iggy's things and have it be so commercially acceptable, because Jim had never really been considered any kind of acceptable until China Girl, in terms of charts and all that. You know, it was great to have one of his pieces of music do so well. Lyrically, it's difficult. I can only interpret that because I didn't write the lyrics. I mean, they're Jim's lyrics. And for him, I know they were specifically personal because he was having an affair with actually, I think she was a Vietnamese girl at the time. And it was very much a personal thing for him. But as a portrayal, I can quite get into it. And for me personally, it reminds me of being in Sydney, because there's in Australia, there's a large Chinese community there. And we had a really attractive, wonderful girl who did the video there for me, so kind of think about that.
God. This is not America?
This is not America. Giorgio Moroder is a very good producer, but he pipped me to doing the soundtrack for Metropolis. That annoyed me terrifically. We were doing that song in the studio, and he wrote the music, I wrote the lyrics. And he said, you know, David, Brian Eno and I had been working on the idea for doing music for Metropolis for quite a long time. You know, the old silent movie by Fritz Lang? Yeah. And he said, I saw this wonderful film in New York a few weeks ago, Napoleon, you know, but Coppola, his father, did the music for it. Silent movie, fantastic. I said, yeah, I saw that. He said, well, I found an old film, I'm going to do one. I said, what do you mean you found an old film? It's this old German film. He said, it's great, it's called Metropolis. He said, you've got to go see it. What do you mean you're doing it? He said, I bought it, I'm doing the music, I've got Queen playing in on it and everything. I said, oh, you've got Queen playing on Metropolis? And all my music. It was because I'd loved that film ever since art school. Had so much to do with my stage lighting in like '76 with Station to Station and all that. And I couldn't believe. Oh well, that was that song anyway. So I remember that song. It was an excellent movie, by the way. I must say that.
Yeah.
I thought Sean Penn was truly excellent in that movie.
Yeah, right.
It was a really good performance.
Thanks to George Harrison, of course, too. Right. Okay, Let's Dance. Final one.
Let's Dance. Having something which I felt had absolutely no future, seeing that being taken and shaken by a producer, made into something unbelievably commercial. I mean, for me, it was just a song on the album, Let's Dance, and it was okay, but it was no great shakes. But then Niall got hold of it and did these horn arrangements and all this, and made it sound like this disco thing, and it was like, and it did all this business. I mean, it was complete and utter shock to me. I just couldn't believe it.
With a positive shock?
Oh yeah, it was marvellous. I was radiant. I was over the moon having that kind of success. It was terrific. Because I've been up until 1983, I had the biggest cult audience in the world. I mean, it was just, I had an audience, and it was quite big, but it was a cult audience. I was never kind of over the, and that kind of made me mainstream or overground or whatever. And I've had problems with that ever since.
They've been following you around. Right. Well, now the official final question. Can I say 25 years of music business?
Yes.
And all the interviews attached to that. What's the question we're dying to answer, but has never been asked?
Oh, that's a horror. I can't even think of one. No,
Is it
I
over
can't.
now?
No, you can't. No, this is too easy. You give me the problem. You have the problem. You ask a question that's never been asked before.
Let me think about it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you see?
Well, let me attach it to
So we
the
come back
video,
to
which
this
is
10
coming up.
minutes.